Hello everyone. In this chapter, I'm going to review chapter number 5, Consumer Choice. I'm assuming that you all have gone through chapter number 5 as well from your textbook and also attempted those practice questions that I have uploaded to your course website and to Connect website. So let me read out the learning objectives. So these are the 5 learning objectives that we are going to achieve in this chapter. Number 1, explain the law of diminishing marginal utility. So you have to understand this law because we have very similar law in later chapters as well. For example, law of diminishing marginal productivity or marginal returns. So we use the same concept as we are using here in defining law of diminishing marginal utility. Derive a consumer's purchasing rule that ensures satisfaction is maximized. So we will also discuss what should be the purchasing rule in order to maximize your utility or satisfaction. Number 3, provide a theoretical rationale for downward sloping demand curves. If you remember in chapter number 2, I told you that demand curve is downward sloping curve. You know the relationship between price and quantity demanded is inverse, that is negative. And this negative relationship is because of income effect and substitution effect. If you remember, we discussed in chapter number 2. Here, we will also explain or give you another reason why demand curve slopes downward or why there exists an inverse relationship between quantity demanded and price of that same product. Number 4, explain why consumer generally value a product more than the price they pay. So in this objective, basically we try to understand the meaning of consumer surplus and we try to uh, understand how to calculate consumer surplus. That will be used in later chapters as well. And finally, explain why some sellers charge different prices to different consumers for the same product. So I'll just discuss this last topic succinctly because this same topic will be covered in monopoly chapter. There we will discuss in detail about price discrimination, but we will discuss the basic concept of price discrimination in this chapter as well because it is related to consumer surplus. So let's start. First, a few definitions. In economics, we use the word marginal always to represent a change. Marginal simply means a change or extra or additional. This is the meaning of marginal. So, for example, what is marginal cost? Additional cost or change in cost, or extra cost. What is marginal revenue? Additional revenue or extra revenue, or what is so it's not basically change is also fine because you can see incremental or additional is nothing but the change, right? Similarly, marginal utility, additional or incremental or extra satisfaction. So marginal is the meaning of marginal that we are going to use in this whole course is additional. So whatever marginal and the other term that is additional that term. So marginal cost, additional cost. Marginal revenue, additional revenue. Marginal profit, additional profit. Marginal consumer surplus. I know we haven't discussed consumer surplus. Marginal consumer surplus, additional consumer surplus. So this is the meaning of margin. Then this chapter only talks about utility or consumer preferences. What is utility? Utility is nothing but satisfaction or pleasure derived from the consumption of a product. So the level of satisfaction that you are driving consuming a specific product is called utility. And of course, it's very difficult to measure utility. There are two ways basically. Either you measure in utils or you just rank your utilities. For example, I can tell you that I receive more satisfaction using Apple products compared to non-Apple products. So I'm not giving you my level of exact satisfaction, but I'm at least comparing my satisfaction for two different products. This is what we call, I'm just simply ranking those products according to my level of satisfaction that I drive consuming those products. But I'm not just giving you exact numbers. Here, this is beyond the jurisdiction of this course, so we will just assume that we know the utility and we converted this utility into dollar terms. So, for example, I receive $5 utility when I consume 2 units of this product or 1 unit of this product. Okay. Now again, once you know marginal, once you know utility, you can explain what is marginal utility. So marginal utility is the amount of additional utility. That is the meaning of marginal, derived from the consumption of an extra unit of a product. So that is the meaning of marginal utility. Remember, I am not saying that marginal utility is additional utility derived from the consumption of 500 units. No, I'm just saying for an extra unit. So that is important, for an extra unit, just 1 unit. What is your increase in utility? That is your marginal utility. Okay. So change in utility, that is change in your satisfaction due to increase in the consumption of just one extra unit, whatever be that unit. If the data is in liters, then one additional liter. If it is in kilogram, one additional kilogram. If it is a unit, for example, a refrigerator or table, then you have to use second refrigerator or second table, just 1 unit. How we are going to calculate marginal utility? This is the formula, and I'm going to give you a simple example as well. So this formula to calculate marginal utility is this. That is, marginal utility is change in total utility. That is why at the outset I said by marginal I mean change. So change in total utility, that is what is the additional utility because of change in quantity of that product that you are consuming. So change in output, that is change in consumption basis, not production. You are consuming. That is why the title of this chapter says consumer preferences. I'm not talking about production side. And you can also calculate total utility by adding all marginal utilities. Of course, if I know that for every unit, I can, I know the value of marginal utility for every unit. So if I want to calculate the total utility of all units, I just add my marginal utilities up, right? So I just add them up, all these values. I'm going to show you in an example that will clarify how to calculate marginal utility. Once we calculate marginal utility, then I can explain what is the meaning of diminishing marginal utility or law of diminishing marginal utility. So by diminishing, I mean decreasing. But we normally don't use the word decreasing here in this scenario, and we will discuss this in later chapters why we could have said decreasing marginal utility, but we always prefer using this word diminishing instead of decreasing. Why? Because we will use the word decreasing in another concept. Decreasing returns to scale. So in order to just clarify these two different concepts, right, we use two different terms. So one is diminishing, the other one is decreasing. So what is diminishing marginal utility? Simply decreasing marginal utility. That is, as you consume more and more units of a specific product, your additional utility decreases. This is the meaning of diminishing marginal utility, and this is uh, basically a law. That is law of diminishing marginal utility. But this law is based on certain assumptions. So these assumptions are given here. Number one, and I'll just discuss law of diminishing marginal utility in a moment as well. Number one, you can see consumers are behaving rationally. So I'm assuming all consumers are rational. You can't say that I'm going to consume this product even if I'm not receiving any satisfaction. So that is not rationality. So we assume that we are all rational individuals. Second, consumers' objective is to maximize satisfaction. So your objective for consuming any product is to maximize your satisfaction. You are not consuming a product in order to maximize your friend's satisfaction, okay, because he or she likes you to consume that product. So you are consuming and you are trying to maximize your satisfaction or utility. Purchases and consumption take place over a short period of time. So we are analyzing this in the short run. By short run, I mean that you are consuming the product uh, for a short period of time. So, for example, suppose if you drink 1 cup of tea, you will receive, let's say, $5 of utility. When you drink another cup of tea or take another cup of tea, then the additional satisfaction would be only $4 instead of $5. But if you keep taking additional cups of uh, tea or coffee, your additional utility in terms of dollar will continue to fall. Why? Because you are consuming these cups of tea or coffee one by one in a very short period of time. This law doesn't hold if you are consuming this by giving extra time. For example, if you take 1 cup of coffee today in the morning, you receive a satisfaction of worth $5. Then you drink or take another cup of coffee next morning. Yes, you might get the same $5 worth utility. What law of diminishing marginal utility tells us that we are consuming these units consecutively, right, with a very short period of time. Then you will see diminishing marginal utility. You can, take any example except few exemptions. For example, if you are taking if you have one laptop and right away you buy second laptop, third laptop, fourth laptop, of course the additional utility for the fourth computer will close to zero. Similarly, if you are buying anything that you eat, right, so food items. So, for example, if you go and buy one slice of pizza, you receive certain utility. Then, right after eating that one slice of pizza, you consume another slice of pizza, then another price of pizza, then another slice of pizza. What would happen? Your additional utility starts decreasing, and even it would become negative. By negative utility, I mean you're not driving any satisfaction. Actually, you are dissatisfied in terms of, let's say, vomiting. So if you keep eating slices of pizzas, then you know that a point is reached when the additional slice of pizza will give you dissatisfaction, that you start aching your stomach or you start vomiting. Okay. But for some products, this law may not hold. For example, wealth. So people or consumers' utility, having more wealth, is not diminishing. If it is diminishing, then we don't have billionaires and multi-billionaires people, because the more wealth they have in their mm, possession, they have more utility. So their additional utility is increasing. And that is the reason many um, political leaders in the developing countries, they are involved in uh, corruption and to amass more wealth, because they are not satisfied with the existing amount of money that they acquired, and therefore they need more and more and more. So there's no limit. But these are the exceptions. Normally, we have diminishing marginal utility. Now, let me show you one simple example of law of diminishing marginal utility. So, and by the marginal utility, I mean the extra utility, right? Drive from one more unit of a product. And if it decreases, that is diminishing marginal utility, sorry, as more of that product is consumed. So you can see this table. This table shows law of diminishing marginal utility. But notice one thing, one important thing in this table, and that is, just give me a sec. Uh, so, so if you see here, so this is, let's say this is, I don't know, let's say this is a glass of water, right? So when you drink first glass of water, your utility, additional utility is 45, whatever utils or whatever you call it, right? It's 45. When you use or drink the additional glass of water, the increase in utility would be 36. That is less than 45, but still you are receiving satisfaction. Sometimes you are very thirsty and you might take a couple of glasses of water if the size of glass is not that big. But this is just an example, right? So you can see, if you continue consuming additional glass of water, your additional utility is decreasing. Look at what is happening here. Let's say this is a number of, instead of glass of water, that doesn't look good, because normally we don't drink six glasses of water at the same time. So let's take, this is a number of strawberries, right? So if you take first strawberry, you get 45, second, third. When you eat the sixth strawberry, then you can see your utility is zero. Zero means you're not driving anything. You don't need to eat the sixth unit. And when you eat the seventh unit, you can see your utility is negative. Margin additional utility is negative. Negative means you are dissatisfied with the consumption of this seventh uh, strawberry or seventh unit. I told you in the very beginning of the chapter that you can calculate total utility by using marginal utility. How? By simply adding. So let me erase these markings and then show you. So see, when you eat first strawberry, your total utility is 45. When you use not second unit, but two strawberries in total. So you are now eating two strawberries in total. For the first, it is 45. For the second is 36. Just add these two numbers. So 45 plus 36 is 81. So you are getting total utility of 81 uh, from two units together of strawberries. Similarly, when you add the third unit, then the total utility of eating all three strawberries at the same time, it would be 106. So you just added 81 plus this 25, 106. And similarly, you can uh, calculate total utilities. You can also calculate marginal utilities using total utilities. So suppose if this information is given to you, total utilities, I can easily calculate marginal utility. So when I increase the consumption from 0 unit to one strawberry, my additional utility is same 45 that I wrote here. When I use second strawberry, I know the total utility is 81. So what is the change? That is 81 minus 45. Okay. So 81 minus 45 would give me 36. So for the second unit is 36. That is the increase in total unit utility is only 36. Similarly, the increase from 81 to 106 is 25. From 106 to 126, 27 increase is 21. So total utility is indeed increasing, but at a decreasing rate. Decreasing rate means that every time total utility increases, but with a smaller number. You can see 45, 36, 21, 25, 21, and then from 127 to 139 is 12. Notice there's no change in total utility. So if total utility is not changing, 139, 139, it means there's no change in marginal utility, and therefore marginal utility is zero. And then you can notice total utility actually start decreasing. Total utility, not marginal, from 139 to 133. What is the decrease? 6 with a negative sign. So 6 is the dissatisfaction. That is why your total utility is decreasing, because the seventh unit is decreasing your utility instead of increasing. Okay. Now I will transform whatever we discussed in the previous slide, that is total utility and marginal utility, in these two graphs. So you can see I have plotted this graph. So one is the, sorry. So one is the total utility curve. So this is the total utility curve. Notice what I've done. I have taken on the horizontal axis number of that product, units of that product, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strawberries, 1 strawberry, 2 strawberry, 3, up to 8 strawberries. And then on the vertical axis, I've taken total utility, not marginal utility. And you can see it starts when you consume first unit, it was, if you remember, it was 45, and then it increases to 81 and increasing, and then at 139 there's no change, and after 139 it starts decreasing. You can see in the previous slide that it start decreasing from 139 to 133. Okay. Now uh, what is marginal utility? Marginal utility is nothing but the slope of total utility curve. This is what I've calculated slope here. What is slope? See, what is slope? Slope is change in total, sorry, change in total utility, which is how much? 36 divided by change in quantity. So 2 minus 1 is always 1. So 36 divided by 1 is 36. So that is marginal utility. So marginal utility is nothing but the slope of the total utility curve, which I am showing in the next slide here. So you can see that the slope of the total utility is increasing. It, sorry. So you can see the total slope of the total utility is increasing, but at a decreasing rate. It's still, the curve is becoming flatter and flatter and flatter. And eventually the slope is zero. Where? At 139, because the horizontal line like this is a slope, zero slope line, right? There's no steepness. And then start negative. This is negative slope line, if you remember. Remember, we draw demand curve like this. So this is a negative slope line. So negative. So what we have done, we have just plotted the slope in the next diagram, the bottom diagram, that is this diagram, and you can see it is decreasing. So marginal utility decreasing, reaches zero. So this is zero utility. And then you have negative utility, -6. Remember? So we can easily calculate marginal utility using total utility diagram. Okay. And believe me, you have to understand this. Why? Because we are going to use the same concept in the next, I don't remember the name, but in cost of production, cost and production both. So we'll discuss marginal productivity and total productivity, and we will discuss marginal cost and total cost as well. Okay. And also average cost and average productivity as well. We'll discuss in the later chapters. So don't worry about right now for this chapter. So now this is the, so if I take you back here, oops, sorry, here. So we have done this part, that is explain the law of diminishing marginal utility. So we discussed what do we mean by marginal utility, and then I showed you that this marginal utility decreases or diminishes as we consume more at the same time, right, in the short period of time. And I also showed you how to draw total utility curve and how to derive marginal utility from total utility. Now the second the objective, sorry, is to derive the consumer purchasing rule. How we are going to allocate our money buying different products. So this is the purchasing rule, which we are about to discuss. So let's go to that slide. So basically now we are discussing the second objective of, go to that slide. So basically now we are discussing the second objective of this chapter. So this is the optimal purchasing rule. I'll just give you an example as well, but first let me read the definition. So a rational consumer should purchase the product that yields the greatest marginal utility per dollar is spent. This is the rule. The rule is, remember, we already talked about in the previous slides how to calculate marginal utility. This. Now I want to calculate the ratio marginal utility divided by price as well. Because remember, when we calculated here, when we calculated marginal utility, I did not consider price level. I did not tell you that the price of one unit of strawberry is 50 cents, and second is also 50 cents, third is also 50 cents. So there's no price given. So we calculated a marginal utility without any price. Now, when we want to discuss or we need to discuss purchasing rule, we need to know the price of the product as well. And then we divide this marginal utility by price level. So if, for example, if you are consuming two products, product A and product B, so what is the best combination? The best combination is you have to calculate MUA over PA, that is marginal utility that you derive from additional unit of A divided by price of A. And we are assuming price is fixed, constant, it's not changing. And similarly, marginal utility of B divided by price of B. So first you calculate these two ratios and then compare. So I've given you two examples here. If this MUA over PA is greater than MUB over PB. What does this mean? It means that the dollar that you spend on product A will give you higher utility compared to B. Basically, when you divide marginal utility by price, it simply tells you that what is the additional utility that you're deriving, not by consuming one additional unit, but by spending one additional dollar on that product. So MUA over PA, if it is greater than MUB over PB, it means that you are getting higher satisfaction by spending your additional dollar bill on the consumption of product A instead of B. And if this is the case, therefore, you should consume more or you should spend money more on product A instead of B. If the opposite is the case, that is, if the MUA over PA is less than MUB over PB, it means your dollar gives you more satisfaction if you spend that dollar purchasing or consuming product B instead of A. So therefore, you are going to consume more of product B. Where you stop when they both are equal. When they both are equal. So that is the best distribution of your money on buying goods and services. Let's take an example. Actually, there are two examples. So let's discuss these two examples and you will understand how we actually allocate our income or resources buying different goods and services. You know, this is purely theoretical, but at the back of our head, basically, we are calculating these marginal utilities. You know, there's no fixed calculation, but you have some idea. Let me give you the example. And again, suppose if you have not only two products, but you have n products, then this is the rule. The best rule is that you allocate your funds on these products in such a way that all these ratios are equal. That is the best situation. Let's take an example, a simple example, and you understand this. So this is scenario one. So there are two scenarios here. Suppose the price of latte is $4 per unit. So price of this product latte is given as $4 per unit. And price of pastry is also luckily $4 per unit. So in scenario one, we have the same price of the two products. But this is not always the case. So in scenario number two, I will change the price. Here, I'm just assuming that price of both products are $4. Sorry. How should Anna best allocate her budget of $24? So suppose you or Anna has $24, or you have only $24, right, to spend on these two products to maximize your utility, total utility, not marginal utility, total utility. Now the question is how much you are going to spend on pastry, how much you are going to spend on pastry and latte. Sorry, you know, you can't answer unless you know the Anna's marginal utility, whether she likes latte or she likes pastry or she likes pastry more than latte. So we have to have marginal utilities. So let's take this data. Now everything is in this slide. Simply I don't want to create more slides. So answers are already given here, right? But I will explain. So I'll only discuss the upper portion of this table. Now let's see this. What is happening actually? So let me first change the font size. Just give me a sec. Give me a second and I will. Okay. Now see. So these are marginal utilities. This is total utility. This is marginal utility, total utility. Of what? Of two products. Prices of latte is already given here for prices of pastry 4. Okay. And the data is given here. Now I will ask this question to myself, or Anna asks this question to herself. That suppose if you want to spend $1, first dollar out of $24, so you can't buy anything for your first dollar because the price is $4. Okay, so if you buy, or if you spend, let's say, or buy, same thing, $4, first $4 out of your $24, which product are you going to buy? Latte or pastry? So if I look at the data, I know that for the first latte, oops, sorry, I'm sorry, what I've done. Sorry. So if I buy first latte, that is here, If I buy first latte, you see my marginal additional utility is 45, whatever you call, there's no unit here, right? 45. And if I buy first pastry, I have 64. It means my marginal utility is higher for first pastry compared to first latte. So I would spend, or Anna would spend, her first $4 on pastry. That is, she bought this first pastry first. Now she hasn't bought any latte. Then second pastry. So if she buys second pastry, she gets 52 additional utility. And for the first latte, the utility is still 45, which is less than 52. So Anna will continue to buy second pastry and spend another $4 on the second pastry. Then Anna will compare third pastry with first latte because Anna hasn't bought any latte. And then you can see this 45 is greater than 40 this time. So Anna then, after buying two pastry, Anna buys then first latte because 45. So this is how she manages, and you can see this is the end result. So first purchase, first pastry. Second purchase, second pastry, second $4, right? Then third purchase, first latte. Then fourth purchase, third pastry, because the third pastry marginal utility is more than the second latte. And you can see the above table. Then fifth purchase, second latte. So basically, she bought three pastries and two latte. Why we stop here? Because the whole $24 is exhausted. You can see these are five first. Yeah, so for three lattes, you get 3 fours 12. No, there's another latte. Oh, there's another. Yeah, so fourth pastry, not three. I'm sorry. That's why I thought it was $12. $20. Now it's 24. So fourth pastry as well. So basically, she's buying four pastries and two latte. So four pastry will cost you 4 fours are 16, and two latte would cost you $8. 16 plus 8, $24, and she has $24. So that is the optimum purchasing rule. But notice that when I started this purchasing rule, I gave you this rule that you have to take the marginal utility divided by price. But here in scenario number one, here I'm not even discussing price. Price is not even used in any of these calculations. I haven't calculated marginal utility divided by price. I'm just comparing 45 with 64, 36 with all these numbers. Why? Because prices are same. So there's no point dividing by the same number. It doesn't matter. You're getting my point. So if 30, if 64, see this. Hold on. I'll show you. So if 64 is greater than 45, then 64 divided by 4, 45 divided by 4, the relationship will be the same. Are you getting my point? So 64 divided by 4 must also be greater than 45 divided by 4. So if you're dividing by the same number, it doesn't matter. So you don't have to even consider. But in real world, prices are not exactly the same. Prices are different. If prices are different, then you can't compare simply marginal utilities. You have to divide by price level as well. Okay. For example, if I tell you that the first computer will give you very high marginal utility compared to first Apple, it's not comparable because one laptop costs you $900, one Apple costs you $5. So prices are different. You can't simply compare marginal utilities because yes, you are getting higher additional utility on computers because you're spending $900 as well. Whereas for one Apple, you're only spending $5. So you have to match the marginal utility per dollar. Here, why we are not calculating per dollar because prices are same. So there's no point. Why not? Let's take the second example or scenario number 2 that will clarify this. So this is a summary, right? That Anna purchases 4 units of pastry, that is $16, and 2 units of latte, that is $8. That is the best purchasing rule. Now we have scenario 2. Suppose the price of latte decreases from 4 per unit to $3 per unit, while the price of pastry remains the same as $4 per unit. So now you have different prices. Look at this table. Look at this table. Now notice I'm not just comparing this 64 with this 45. It's meaningless. Why? Because prices are different. You are getting this 45 when you spend only $3. And here you are getting 64 utility when you are spending $4. So you are getting 64 by spending $4, you are getting 45, you are spending $3. Why not we calculate per dollar utility? So we divide by price. So 45 divided by 3 would give you 15. So every time when you spend one additional dollar on latte, you will receive 15 utility. And for pastry, $1 utility, additional utility per dollar would be 16. So 16 is greater than 15, and therefore you first buy pastry. So now look at this here. This is now the allocation. First, you buy pastry, first pastry, then first latte, then second pastry, second latte, third pastry, third latte, and then fourth latte. And if you can see, you will still get the same $24 because you know the price of latte has gone down from $4 to $3. And how many latte you are now consuming? 3. So 3 times 3, $9 total. And then how many pastries? Oh no, you are consuming 4 latte, right? Yeah, 4 latte. So 4 times 3, 12. So this is you are spending $12. And then pastry, you are consuming first pastry, second pastry, 3 pastries. The 3 forza, because price is 4, 12, and you are again $24. So your budget is $24. What is the rule? The rule is simple. MU over P, you are equating both, right, for the both products. So this is the conclusion. Note that Anna has changed her purchasing pattern as a result of a decrease in the price of lattes. The number of lattes purchased increased from 2 to 4, whereas the quantity of related substitute products, that is pieces of pastries, dropped from 4 to 3 because of different prices. Marginal utility are same, but you have to divide by different prices. Now we are going to discuss the third objective, uh, the relationship between marginal utility, and demand. So remember, I told you in chapter number 2, we talked about why demand curve slopes downward, and the reason was because of basically there were two reasons: the substitution effect and the income effect, or income effect and substitution effect. Now I'm going to give you the another reason why consumers buy more when prices are lower. So this is what I'm going to show you. This is the demand curve, if you remember, in chapter number 2, QDX, PX. What this demand curve is showing you? This demand curve is showing you that when price is, let's say $5, you are demanding 6 units. When price decreases to 4, you are demanding more. Why you are demanding more? Because of diminishing marginal utility. Because as you consume more, your additional utility decreases. Why you are going to pay higher prices? So you are going to pay lower prices because you are receiving less satisfaction. So for example, you are not going to give you even a single penny if you know that when you consume this unit, your utility will be zero, additional utility will be zero. You're not going to pay anything for that, right? Why not? Let's take a simple example and show you how we derive this demand curve. Let's take this example. Uh, this example is very simple if we first consider the left-hand side table and then we discuss the right-hand side table. So the left-hand side table simply tells you, first look at this. So product name is not given, right? So it doesn't matter. Whatever be this product. Let's say this is apples. So the number of apples you are eating. Now see this. So prices are given, but in the second table. Let's take this. Suppose, again, there's a big supposition, but this is the only way we can discuss this at this level. Suppose when you consume one apple, your additional, because it says marginal, your additional utility that you derive consuming first apple is not in utils, that is the measure of utility, but in terms of dollars. Suppose I convert it into dollars. That okay, if I'm going to consume one apple, I will receive satisfaction worth of $8. I'm not dividing marginal utility by price level. This is my additional utility in terms of dollars. So I will receive satisfaction worth of $8. When I use or eat the second unit of apple, the additional apple will give me additional utility worth of only $5, not $8. This is what we call diminishing or law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay. Similarly, you can see third unit, fourth unit, your utility, additional utility is decreasing, and eventually when you consume 70 is decreasing, and eventually when you consume seventh unit of apple, like the seventh apple, your marginal utility in terms of dollar is zero. So you are not receiving any or deriving any satisfaction consuming seventh apple. Now let me ask you this question, and of course, since this is a recorded session, so I will answer this question as well. Suppose if I ask you that if the price level is $10 per apple, $10 per apple, that is the price of one apple is $10. How many apple you are going to buy? The answer is zero. Why zero? Because you know when you consume one apple, you are getting $8 worth of satisfaction. Why you are going to pay $10 and receive satisfaction of $8? That's a loss. You're not going to buy this apple when the price is $10. What about when the price is $9? If price is $9, you're not going to buy any apple because the first apple give you only $8 utility. Why you pay even $9? When the price is $8, yes, you can buy one apple. Why? Because you are also receiving $8 utility. You don't mind paying $8. So when the price is $8, the quantity demanded for Apple would be 1. When price is $7, further I'm decreasing prices, and I'll show you what I'm doing actually. Summarize everything. When the price is $7, you are not going to buy 2 apples. You're still going to buy 1 apple. Why? Because 1 apple give you $8 utility and $8 utility, and price is $7, so it's profitable. So you can buy, even at $7, you can buy 1 apple. If the price is $6, you still buy 1 apple only. Why? Because 8 is greater than 6, but you're not going to buy 2 apples. Why? Because the second apple will give you only $5 worth of utility, whereas you are paying $6 per apple. So price is $6 per apple. So you're not going to buy second apple because you will get only $5 level of satisfaction. When price is $5, you are happy to buy 2 apples. Why 2 apples? Because the first apple is $8, not bad. Second apple is 5, which is exactly equal to 5. You are still getting more than what you spend, and therefore you will buy on demand 2 apples. So quantity demanded will be 2. Similarly, if the price is $4, you'll buy 3 apples. Why? Because the third apple will give you 4 utility. So third apple will give me 4 utility, $4 worth of utility. Same number you will buy, and so on and so forth, right? So if the price is $1, you are willing to pay or buy, 6 apples, because the 6th apple will give you $1 worth of utility, and price is also $1, so you don't mind buying it. If I draw this second table in a graph by taking quantity demanded on the horizontal axis and price on the vertical axis, you can see I have actually derived the demand curve. So the demand curve actually starts from here, from $6 price. Why $6 price? Because first apple will give you $6 worth of satisfaction. You're not going to pay any price above $6. And then you can see it's a downward sloping line. The demand curve is downward sloping. Why it is downward sloping? Why when price decreases, then only you demand more? Because of diminishing marginal utility. Because when you consume additional apple, your utility decreases. Additional utility, that is marginal utility, decreases, and therefore you are not going to pay the same price. So you are going to offer a lower price, and that is why demand curve slopes downward, because of law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so read the text that is given on these slides, and also in your textbook as well. Now the next topic is consumer surplus. Okay, let me give you an example of consumer surplus first, real life example, and then I will just explain this slide, and then convert this whole table using a demand curve. Let me give you an example of what is the meaning of consumer surplus actually. Consumer surplus, you can't actually realize this concept, right? So it's very difficult to measure. Let me give you an example, and that will clarify. Suppose if you want to buy an Apple Watch, okay, and let's assume the price of Apple Watch is $600. How do you know price? Actually, this price is in your head. You just search several websites and just see that, then just have one perception that, okay, if the price is around 600, I will buy. Okay. And then, because, for example, if your budget is 400 and you wanted to buy an Apple Watch, and when you search on the website, Costco website, suppose, and you see, oh no, the price is 600, it's too much, so I'm not going to buy. That's finished. But suppose if you decide to buy this watch, and this is in your budget, right? So you just search the whole website, everything. Whole website, I mean, you have searched different stores website, for example, Best Buy, Costco, etc. and you decided, okay, I'm going to buy this Apple Watch at Costco, and my price is $600. That is in my head, in my back of the head. I'm willing, I'm willing to pay up to $600. Right. I'm not going to pay $1,000 for sure. Now I go to the Costco, and there I found out that that same watch, I just find out that the watch is on sale and the price is 500 instead of 600. What would happen? I would buy this $1 difference. When I was going to uh, Costco, I had this in my mind that I wouldn't mind paying $600. But when I reached Costco, I found out that the price was actually only 500 instead of 600. And I had this 600 price in my head, and I was willing to pay $600 even. This difference is called consumer surplus. So my consumer surplus in this case would be $100. So what is consumer surplus? Let me give you the definition. The definition is the difference in the two price level. One price is the consumer willing to pay. So I was willing to pay $600. With this intention, I went to Costco and I actually paid $500. So the difference is my consumer surplus. Okay. So this is the definition that is given on your slide. The difference between what a consumer is willing to pay and the actual price of the product. That is consumer surplus. The reverse is not possible. That is, the negative difference is not feasible. Why? Suppose if I'm willing to pay $600 and I go to the store and I see the price is 1,000, there's no transaction. I'll come back. I'm not going to buy one for $1,000. So I don't have a negative consumer surplus. It's not possible. The trade will not take place. So let's take this simple example and explain consumer surplus. Again, marginal consumer surplus and total consumer surplus side. So, the table looks pretty scary, but it's very easy. Suppose the price of 1 drum of, so this is drum of water. I don't know why they have taken drums of water. I don't buy drums of water. So let's say these are uh, soft drink, Coke, Pepsi, whatever. Or let's stick to the same example, drums of water. So suppose the price of each drum of water is $1 each. $1 each is the price. Right? Suppose, so now I'm converting into suppose if the marginal utility in terms of dollar is 8. Actually, what does this mean? This is what I just said earlier in my real life example. This marginal utility in terms of dollars is nothing but the price that you are willing to pay. What price you are willing to pay? You are willing to pay according to your satisfaction, right? So suppose if you are willing to pay for any product $5, it means that you must receive satisfaction worth of $5. Otherwise, you are not going to pay $5. Willing to pay $5. So that is why they are writing dollar marginal utility. So suppose it is $8. It means that for the first drum of water, you're willing to pay up to $8. Why $8? Because that is the maximum satisfaction that you will drive buying this unit of product. That is first drum of water. And in the market, the price is $1 only. So you are willing to pay $8, but you actually are paying $1 only. Profitable, right? So that is $7 is your consumer surplus or marginal consumer surplus for the first unit. For the second unit, were willing to, or you are not, you are willing to pay $5. Why you are willing to $5 instead of $8? Because of diminishing marginal utility. So now you are receiving less utility in terms of dollars. So you're receiving $5 worth of utility. Why you are going to pay more than $5? So you're willing to pay for the second drum is only $5, but you are actually paying the same price $1. So again, you are making consumer surplus of $4 for the second unit. Similarly, for the third unit, you are consumer surplus is $3. For the fourth unit, your consumer surplus is $2. So what is your total consumer surplus? Simple, just add all marginal consumer surpluses. So 7 plus 4, 11, 11 plus 3, 14, 14 plus 2, 16. So $16 is your consumer surplus. Now, this is one way, but the simplest way is this is how you calculate if you know my earlier real life example. So suppose for all these 4 units at the same time, you go to the shop and you want to buy 4 drums of water. How much you are willing to pay for these 4 drums according to your level of satisfaction? So suppose your total level of satisfaction is in terms of dollars is $8 plus 5, 13 plus 4, no, 8 plus 5, yeah, 13 plus 4, 17, 20. So basically, you are willing to pay $20 for these 4 drums of water. Okay, that is your willingness to pay based on your utility that you are driving. So this is the maximum utility that you are driving, right? $20 for 4 drums of water. How much you are paying? $4. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So $4. You have to pay $4 by these 4 drums. So you actually paid $4, but you are willing to pay $20. So what is the consumer surplus? $16. That is your $16 consumer surplus. So you can easily calculate like this as well. Okay. Now let's go to show you the consumer surplus using this demand curve. And we will use this consumer surplus in the later chapters as well. So make sure you know how to calculate consumer surplus. So suppose if although the demand supply curve is not given, but let's say the equilibrium price is in this case is 60 unit, no dollars, sorry. And suppose the total passes sold in the market is 10,000. So what I'm saying basically that consumers are buying 10,000 passes at what price? At 60 price. This is the market. But according to the demand curve, this is the total market demand curve, okay? According to demand curve, consumers are getting consumer surplus. Why? Because notice at this level, at this 2,000 tickets, consumers were willing to pay according to their demand curve, but they didn't pay. Willing to pay $100. This was their level of satisfaction, very high. But they did not actually pay $100. They are paying now only $60. So $100 minus 60, $40. So when they buy 200 passes, their consumer surplus is this gap. That is 100 minus 60, 200. Oh, 100 minus 60, 40. Sorry, why 200? $40 consumer surplus. But we are not interested in marginal surplus. We are interested in total surplus. So total surplus is basically the area, this whole triangle that is given in the blue color. So this whole blue triangle is consumer surplus. So now it's very easy to calculate consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is the area under the demand curve and above the market price, that is 60. So above 60, below the demand curve, this whole area is consumer surplus. And you know how to calculate the slope or area of a triangle. So the area of the triangle, the formula is half times base times height. Simple. So half, what is the base? Base is this difference. not from here. Sorry, this is the example. Hold on, sorry, I'm sorry. Let me erase this just to avoid any confusion. Why it's not working? It's not working. It is not working. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's not working. Okay. So let me show you how you calculate consumer surplus. See this. Half times base times height. What is base? Base is from 0 to total quantity, right? 10,000. And then height is what? Height is from market price to the maximum price, that is 110. So 110 minus 60. So this will be half times 10,000 times height. 110 minus 60 is 50. 50. That is the total consumer surplus. So this is how you calculate total surplus. Oh, why I'm writing here? It's already written here. Okay, my pen is not working. There's something wrong with the. Okay, so this is, you can see given here 250,000. Okay. Now, consumer surplus depends on elasticity of demand that we discussed in chapter number 4. So I'm not going to go in detail, but I'll just show you diagrammatically. Look at this. Price is same, but consumer surpluses are different in these two cases. Notice here that if you see here, this curve, let me mark this so that you know what I'm talking about. This curve. This demand curve is more steeper compared to this. This is more flatter. So here, elasticity is more. So I'm writing like this. This is more flatter. So here, elasticity is more. So I'm writing like this. Greater than 1. Let's say this is less than 1. Inelastic. So this is what I'm doing. Hold on. I just said exactly opposite because the steeper demand, that is this demand curve, is inelastic. So let me write in this fashion, inelastic. And this is more elastic. Why? Because this is more flatter. So flatter curve is more elastic. Notice the price is same. The price is same. But this area is less than this big area. Why this is big? Because the demand is inelastic. People are not responding to price level. This is elastic. Consumers are more responsive to price changes in price level, and therefore their consumer surplus is low. So you should know only this, that if the demand curve is inelastic, consumer surplus will be higher, okay, at the same price level, not at different prices. Okay. Now, last topic of this chapter is price discrimination. Okay. And first, I will discuss what is price discrimination, and then I will discuss conditions. And okay, let's talk about one by one. So you can see the definition here. The selling of an identical product. Remember this. So the cost of production is same. You can't say that the supplier is charging higher price for this product because it has a higher quality. That is not price discrimination. So if I ask you what is the example of price discrimination in airline industry, and you say, if you buy a first class ticket, you pay higher prices, and if you buy an economy class ticket, you pay lower prices. That is not price discrimination, because first class seat is different than economy class seat. But yes, if you are buying the two seats in the economy class side by side and you pay two different prices, that is price discrimination. So one maybe same seat have different prices, and I'll tell you why. Not only in the airline, but also in the restaurants and in other businesses. There's a selling of an identical product at a different price to different consumers for reasons other than differences in the cost of production. This is what I was trying to explain. So consumers have different demands for the same product. So consumers are therefore then prepared to pay different prices. So for example, when you have a new release of Apple or iPhones, right, the price is very high. Why? Because some consumers, they want to pay a premium, a higher price to have a latest model of iPhone. But after some time, let's say 3 months, 6 months, they the price is reduced. Why? For the same product, same cost of production. Why? In order to capture those consumers who are not willing to pay that high price. So they are willing to pay lower prices, and therefore they have to wait for a couple of months so that so basically this monopolist or this seller, Apple, is actually charging two different prices from two different consumers type. Their willingness to pay are different. Okay, this is what we call price discrimination. Right? For example, in restaurants, let's say, for example, McDonald's. McDonald's give you a Happy Meal for kids at a lower price. Same thing compared to adults. Why? Because demand for these two different type of consumers are different. Okay, kids, they are not earning, so therefore parents will be encouraged to pay for their kids if they lower their prices. Right? So they are basically getting more customers due to this price discrimination. We'll discuss in detail. There are different types of price discrimination, and we will give you examples there, example of airline industry, restaurants, and other industries in that chapter, chapter number 10, if I'm not wrong, monopoly. Here, what I'm going to discuss, succinctly, briefly, these topics. To practice price discrimination, there must be certain conditions that must be met. So these are the condition, the order. I don't understand the order, but I'm giving you the correct order. So first condition for the sellers to price discriminate is this. Seller has control over the price. So the seller must have a monopoly power, some sort of monopoly power. If you don't have a monopoly power, you can't really price discriminate. For example, if I'm selling product X and if I'm charging two different prices from two different types of individuals. So for example, if I'm charging higher prices to adults and lower prices to kids, if another producer selling the same product, I can't do this because the other seller will sell at a lower price to adult. So adult will not come to me. I can't charge high prices from adults because they will go to another producer. So the seller must have a monopoly power, some sort of monopoly power. Otherwise, it is not possible. This is condition number one. That's why I said that I'll discuss price discrimination in monopoly chapter. That is a specific market structure where seller has a monopoly power. Second, separate the groups from one another. So you have to have two different categories based on so many factors, based on these factors. I'll go back to based on age, based on gender, based on time of purchase. That is, if you go to Mary Brown on Monday, they will give you a deal only on Monday. That is a price discrimination. So if you are available on Monday, yes, you can get that deal. Time of use, volume of purchase. So if you buy in bulk quantities, you'll pay lower prices. That is also a type of price discrimination. So these are all different ways that you can distinguish between two different types of consumers. You can separate your customers into two different categories. For example, let's take public transit. So if you are a student and if you have a university ID, you will get a student pass that has a lower price compared to those who are buying those same transit passes who are working, who are not a student. So they are paying more than what students are paying. It means that public transit must be able to separate these two groups of individuals, and it's very possible, very easy. Why? You have to show your university ID. So if you show your university ID, that shows that you are a student and you get a concessional pass. So if a monopolist or producer or seller wants to price discriminate, that seller should be able to separate the groups from one another. This is the second condition. So if you have all similar customers, you can't separate, and you can't charge different prices. Third condition is this. Third condition is this. Ensure that those obtaining the lower price cannot resell the product. Otherwise, price discrimination will not work. So for example, if I send my son to buy the transit pass showing his student ID, and then I will use, and then he will actually sell that car to me at a slight higher price, of course less than the adult price, but higher than the student price. So that student is making money, and the seller are losing, because adults who are not a student, who are working, of course students can also work, but who are not a student, they will not buy from the transit directly, they will buy from the students. This is what we call arbitrage. So there's no possibility of arbitrage, that you buy at a lower price and sell to other customer at a higher price. And that is why public transit, they want to make sure that there's no such arbitrage. And that is the reason that they sometimes write on the card passes student. Sometimes they change the color, so that when an adult present the student pass, the seller can easily distinguish that this pass is not for the adult, right? So they try to do these things so that there's no possibility of reselling. Okay, so these are the three conditions. Remember, number one, monopoly power. Number two, the seller should be able to separate the groups from one another. This is what we call market segmentation. So should be able to segment its market for students and for adults. And third, no possibility of resale. That is, there's no arbitrage. So these are the three conditions. Now, finally, let me show you this diagram and show you why these sellers are price discriminating, why they are charging two different prices from two different individuals, simply to make more money. And where this additional money come from? Let's see this diagram and you will understand. And I think this is the last slide, because this is then, you have to key concept that you have to read your own. So let me just divide this diagram into two separate parts. Okay, so don't worry about the pink portion, right? So what I'm now going to tell you, first thing, see this. This is the demand curve that you can see here. This is the demand curve, right? And suppose the price is $6. So $6 is the price of this product. There's no price discrimination. Doesn't matter, whoever goes to this seller and can buy these up to 300 tickets, you will have to pay $6 for everyone. What is the consumer surplus? You know how to calculate consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is the area under the demand curve above the price level. So if I extend this demand curve somewhere here and here and above this is the consumer surplus. Okay, so consumer surplus is the area above the price level under the demand curve. This is, which is not shown here, consumer surplus. But what is the revenues, or what are the revenues, or what is the total revenue that this seller is earning? Is so easy. So 300 is the total number of tickets sold, and each ticket $6. So 6 times 300, right? So 6 times 300 is $1,800. So $1,800 is the total revenue, the money that this seller is receiving. How can I show this $800 in this diagram? This blue rectangle is the revenue, right? This is the revenue. So blue is the total revenue of this seller or monopolist. 300 times 6, 1,800. Okay. Now suppose this monopolist is able to, monopolist means seller, able to segment the market. Now they know, or he or she knows that that some of the buyers are willing to pay higher prices. If they know, they means all these sellers. I don't know whether I should use by singular or plural, so I apologize for this misunderstanding, right? So suppose if out of these 300 buyers who are buying these 300 tickets, out of these 300, suppose somehow this seller knows that out of these 300, 200 of them are willing to pay higher prices. Instead of 6, they are willing to pay $12. Suppose, or let me put this way, suppose out of these 300 buyers, 100 of them are students, and the other 1200 other 200 buyers are working and they're earning. Okay, so now this monopolist will actually charge $12 and sell these 200 units, these 200 units at $1,200. Okay, so what is the revenue when you sell 200 tickets at 12? So 12 times 2, 12 times 2 equal to what? 12 times 2, 2,400. So $2,400 this seller will receive from these 200 adults, and the remaining 100 adults will pay only how much? Will pay $6. So $6 times 100 is 600. So now look at this. Total is 3,000 instead of only 1,800. If you remember, 1,800 is basically 6 times 300. So when this seller was charging $6 per ticket for 300 tickets, this seller was receiving only 1,800. Now this seller is earning 3,000. What is the difference? 3,000 minus 8, 1,200. Okay, 1,200. So 1,200 is what? 1,200 is this pink rectangle. If you see, this is 1,200. The area of this rectangle is 1,200. How do I know? This base from 12 to 6 is 6 base and 200. So 6 times 200 is 1,200. This is the additional revenue that this seller is getting through price discrimination. Where does this 1,200 come from? Actually, this was, if you remember, initially I showed you that the area under the demand curve above this blue rectangle was actually a consumer surplus. So now they capture from consumer surplus this additional 1,200 because consumers were willing actually to pay this whole area. So the 1,200 is now taken from consumer to this monopolist through price discrimination. What is the remaining consumer surplus? Remaining consumer surplus would still be this whole area, this triangle, and this remaining small triangle. This part is gone through price discrimination. This is only possible when the seller has a monopoly power. And that is why most of the monopolies are being regulated by the government. Why? Because monopolists restrict their production output and charge higher prices. And also, when they price discriminate, they charge also higher prices and make more money, right? But don't get confused. When I said that monopolies are being regulated by the government, I'm not talking about price discrimination, simple monopoly. So monopolies normally restrict their output and charge higher price. They create artificial shortages in order to charge higher prices, and government will actually control these monopolies. This is a different topic. This is basically is charging uh, this monopolist is charging different prices for different group of buyers, and they are basically capturing this consumer surplus, not the complete consumer surplus, but a portion of consumer surplus. There are one type of prices. There is one type of price discrimination. This is what we call perfect price discrimination. That in that case, the monopolist actually captures the whole consumer surplus, the 100% of the consumer surplus from consumers by discriminating prices. So we'll discuss, but this is, yeah, that's possible. We'll discuss in chapter number 10. So that's all as far as chapter number 5 is concerned. So thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.